by my ass.
I'm only 4. Bonjour, Monsieur Pussycat.
Cracking toast, Robert.
Start spreading the news.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the short podcast about short films. I am your host, and we are discussing the Academy Award for Best Animated Short. Today's episode is about the 25th year of the award at the 29th Academy Awards, which celebrates the films of 1956. Today's guest you last heard talking about The Ugly Duckling and the nominees of 1939. Please welcome back Jacob Sanchez. Hello, Jacob.
Hello, how you doing?
I am doing great. How about yourself?
Pretty good, but ready to talk about some short films.
Oh, right. That's the best way to get into this podcast. But remind us, what is your familiarity with this whole Best Animated Short category?
The whole shebang in general, not just the 3 nominees.
Oh, yeah, the whole category as a whole.
Yeah. When I started watching films, all the Oscar films, again, like all I knew was the Disney and Pixar stuff. But when I started to explore the best animated shorts in general, when I would do my yearly Oscar watch, I found myself looking forward to that category the most, mainly because I tended to enjoy some of the short films that were there, and I thought that it was a good way for animators to really express themselves. But before that, all I really knew was, of course, the Looney Tunes stuff and some of, the Disney Pixar shorts. I remember I had a copy of the collection of like the Disney Pixar shorts because they were that popular.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. But other than that, like mainly other than the iconic stuff, I haven't really seen much of, the best animated short categories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the standard story when it comes to most guests on this podcast. You know the Pixars, you know the Looney Tunes, and sometimes you even watch the newer nominated shorts. But once it comes to this era that we're in, things can get a bit hazy. But that's what this podcast is about. Just try to introduce people to all these shorts. So let's get into these nominees. Right. This year has only 3. Our first nominee and the year's winner is Magoo's Puddle Jumper, directed by Pete Burness. This is the 3rd win and the 11th nomination for Stephen Bosustow and UPA, as well as the 2nd win and 4th and final nomination for Mr. Magoo. UPA last won in 1954 for When Magoo Flew, then went without a nomination last year, only to come back with a win on their next nomination this year. But I guess it's a mixed blessing, as this is the last nomination for Mr. Magoo, despite the fact he has plenty of shorts made after this, as I guess Magoo just couldn't see a way to get another nomination. Anyway.
Was that that was a fucking good one. Oh my god. That's a funnier joke than anything in Magoo's Puddle Jumpers.
Oh, thank you. Whenever I make jokes and these people rarely ever laugh at them, I guess maybe they're just trying to let me talk, but thank you for laughing. Anyway, what does Mr. Magoo confuse one thing for another this time? In Magoo's Puddle Jumper, Mr. Magoo buys a car, and then hijinks ensue. That's it. That's the premise. But at one point, he drives his car into a lake, and there's jokes about things underwater. Jacob, what did you think of this year's winner?
Okay, so I have like the most limited familiarity with Mr. Magoo. I know like the bit. I know what his whole shtick is. I know that there was a film with Leslie Nielsen, but other than that, like I hadn't really watched a full Mr. Magoo short. So I was like, okay, like this will be fun. And I was watching this, and I did not laugh once. I was like, okay, like maybe there was like a gag that was like kind of cute, like when they're driving underwater and then like they open the door and then like they can't they can't breathe because they're underwater and they hadn't realized it the whole time. But a lot of this was just like painfully flat, like especially like with something with a lot of slapstick, like like because there's that bit where like they drive off of that pier and into the water. There's nothing, and then there's like all of these different sea animals and stuff like that. I think I think the big thing about this is that like it feels like I get what the whole studio's kind of like mission statement was, which was to, have everything be very minimal, but it really does not work for, this sort of like character. And like, especially with all the gags of like, oh, there's a bunch of sea animals here. They're like, like Mr. Magoo thinks they're passengers. A lot of that just really, really did not work for me.
Yeah, it's just like it happens with a lot of Mr. Magoo shorts, but this one specifically, it's just like I've been struggling trying to figure out like how should a Magoo short be great? Hey, and it's like how do you make a great Magoo short? And it's just like I think what it is, it's like you need to have like one just like a variety of jokes, like not just the same thing over and over again, and also just better writing. And like this short specifically, like all of the humor is just observational. It's all just as Mr. Magoo sees a thing but thinks it's something else. And then it's just like and then it's like when it gets to the dialogue and stuff, like when he's like interacting with like his nephew or his like other people or whatever, it's just it's never anything funny. It's usually just like, well, what's happening? Why is this happening? And this is just like there's no jokes. It's barely anything. It's just not funny.
Yeah.
It's hard to say a lot about something like this. It's Magoo's Puddle Jumper.
There's again there I it's hard to say whether or not there's like no there's definitely potential because you covered a Magoo short before, right, on this.
Yeah, this is the fourth Magoo short I've talked about.
Which is this better or worse than any of them?
So this is one of the worst ones. Like if I were to rank the four Magoo shorts, the worst one is Pink and Blue Blues, and then which is a short where Mr. Magoo is taking care of a baby for some reason.
Oh God!
Like somebody entrusts Mr. Magoo as their babysitter, which actually, now that I think about it, is a more funny premise than this. But I don't know. But then above that is this one. And you jump up a little bit and get to Trouble Indemnity, which is one where Mr. Magoo, he's trying to get to this insurance office, but then wanders onto a construction site. And part of the humor is that like he just bought this massive insurance policy, and now he's about to kill himself. And he's like,
that's kind of funny.
And yeah, it's like there's a bit of humor in just like how like he's just going around all across the construction thing. It's like it's a little fun, and like just watching the insurance guys are watching him and just like desperately trying to like save him and whatever. And the best one is When Magoo Flew, which is like it's an okay short. It's fine. It's whatever. But it's the best one because it's slightly funny. It's like, so Mr. Magoo, he's trying to go to a movie theater, but then accidentally goes onto a plane. Hey, and then it's like there's also this robber on the plane who's trying to run from the cops, and then Mr. Magoo tries to return his briefcase to him and ends up walking outside of the plane and wandering around, like just outside of the plane at 30,000 feet in the air. It's just that's a little funny, but it's just like they're all the same jokes. It's just sometimes they work a little better. And it's just like I think there is potential. It's just like for the first time I am imagining like a better Magoo short in my head. And it's one that ends up like with a lot more dynamic angles and stuff. Like I know UPA couldn't really do that or didn't really want to do that. They wanted to keep things like very simple. But I think Mr. Magoo might have worked better as like a MGM character or as a Disney character. When
Like
they
Chuck
could,
Jones could make a really funny bit out of this, I think.
yeah, I think. Oh god, it kind of pains me to admit it because it's just like, oh, I love UP, I love their minimalist style. It's just like maybe Mr. Magoo shouldn't have been UPA.
Yeah.
Like their whole the character shorts are just not their kind of thing. It's just like they're better at like the story oriented and in times when they can really play around with like the format of animation. And it's just like,
And this one, this one doesn't really allow them to play a lot more. Again, especially because again, like there will be like these moments where like suddenly Magoo, you don't see Magoo kind of driving off of the pier. He's just suddenly in the pier. Or whatnot. Like it doesn't have that same like fluidity that maybe you would want out of like a character piece like this. And again, I get that that wasn't UPA. Like they were kind of rebelling against that sort of thing, but it just again it just really did not work here.
yeah, it doesn't help that the pacing is also a bit like stilted too. It's just like there's a lot of weird pauses is in the action. It's just like maybe they're it almost feels like they're pausing for laughter or something. It's just like they're imagining like there's a packed theater, and maybe this is how it was back then, but they're imagining it's a packed theater, and then the people are just absolutely dying at every single half joke. Okay, it's just like they gotta wait so they could do the next joke.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, this one was just.
It's not good.
Yeah. I have nothing else to say other than this was kind of a mediocre short, and I didn't end up laughing at all.
All right, so that's a good time to move on to our second nominee, which is Gerald McBoing-Boing on Planet Moo, directed by Robert Cannon. Thanks for the groan. He really, people are really excited, or really unsure of how you're going to feel about this. This is the 12th nomination for Stephen Basustow and UPA, getting their second nomination this year. And this is also the second and final nomination for Gerald McBoing-Boing, after previously winning for his debut eponymous short. Gerald McBoing-Boing feels like a weird character to get a series since his original stories felt so self-contained. Especially feels weird since this short is about Gerald getting abducted by aliens. I'd say more, but that's kind of it to the plot.
There's so much you could do with that, and they do nothing with that.
It's just so nothing. It's just like he gets abducted by, like, first there's just this little setup where he's just talking to two random kids who are just nothing, and we've never seen them before. We don't see them afterwards, and it's just like, and then he gets abducted by aliens, and it's just like, it's just nothing. It's just they're talking to him, and then at one point the king sells his crown, and then he gets it, and then Gerald McBoing-Boing steals it for no reason. But then they get
arrested. It's not a crown; it's a king hat.
Oh yeah,
that's the only point that like got like a tiny bit of a chuckle out of me.
The genuine king hat.
The genuine king hat.
And then it's just like, but then they get arrested because he doesn't have the hat. But luckily, Gerald McBoing-Boing stole the hat, so it doesn't matter in the end. And then eventually they go back to Earth and they're talking in boing sounds because that's how they think all people talk. And it's just like, oh, it doesn't make it. It's not funny.
It's not. No, I mean, okay, so. What is Gerald McBoing? Was he also an attempt by this studio to like have like their own Bugs Bunny or something like that? Because I don't really know the history of this character. Like I'm just like I saw, okay, he's in like looking it up. Like I was like, okay, he's had like a couple of other short films, but he never had like that sort of revival that other characters have had.
Yeah, so really,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. So really, Gerald McBoing-Boing, he I imagine he was just intended as a one-off character because he had this original short film, which was written by Dr. Seuss and stuff. It's just about
Hmm.
this boy who doesn't talk words. He just goes boing boing instead. And it's just about him trying to navigate the world and his like parents being frustrated with like they can't get their kid to talk. But then eventually he gets a job like making noises for a radio program at the Bong 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 network. Uh and it's like that's really the first Gerald McBoing-Boing short is great. It's fantastic. I love it so much.
I'll have to watch that one.
And it's just like I feel like that was just intended to be a one-off thing, but it got really popular. Like it is the thing that got like UPA on the map. Like it got them their first Oscar win in 1950, and it's just like this was a big thing for them. And it's just like, and then shortly after they hit it off with their Mr. Magoo series, and that got them really big. And so like the early 50s were just this massive period for them. Um, but yeah, and Gerald and I hadn't seen the other Gerald McBoing-Boing shorts outside of the 2 Oscar nominations until last night when after I watched these, I decided to go on a Robert Cannon binge, like because he directs 2 of the short films nominated this year, and it's just like I want to see what else he does because I know he does like a lot of great stuff. And so I ended up watching like How Now Boing Boing and Gerald McBoing-Boing Symphony, I think it's called. And like those 2 are really great. They really find a excuse to build off this Gerald McBoing-Boing formula. But it's just like this one just doesn't it's just not good. It's just not good.
It's like they had a story for like that was like, about a guy who gets abducted by aliens, and the king takes him in and like wants to get him back to their planet, but because they needed to like have like a Gerald McBoing-Boing film like as part of their contract or something like that, they're like, fuck it, let's put Gerald McBoing-Boing in here. Because that's the thing too. It's like, okay, you could have them like, or have like, you could have different sound effects. All he has is the boing boing, and like there's the gag at the beginning where he's like, hey Gerald, pretend to shoot me, and then like you hear the gun sound effect.
Mhm.
And I'm like thinking, okay, are we gonna have different sound effects throughout this whole thing? It's just the boing boing, and it gets really old really fast.
Mhm.
I'll have to check out the other shorts then, because it sounds like they knew what to do. I guess with this one just feels like really confused and especially stagnant, because like the king character is barely a thing, and so is like the servant or the policeman that catches them.
Yeah, it's just it's a very disappointing short because like it just feels very half-baked. And I don't know what like UPA, I never think of them as making just some half-baked kind of thing. I usually think that they like try to make something, more artistic or something. But it's just like with all the Magoo shorts and then this one, it's just like, what are you doing here? Like, come on. But yeah, you definitely check out the other McBoing-Boing shorts.
I will. And these 2 definitely have what these 2 have in common is that it feels like UPA just really wasn't playing to their strengths. Like they were trying to be like, Looney Tunes shorts, especially for what they were most known for, or before that, what they were most kind of celebrated for. It feels like they were trying to like, go all in on character driven or at least like mascot driven pieces.
Mhm.
And that just really did not work for them.
It did not. And just like as like an introduction to UPA, this is not a good one. It is like just check out some of their earlier Oscar nominations. Check out some of the more popular Robert Cannon shorts or John Hubley. It's just like there's a lot of good shorts out there. Including our third and final nominee, which is the Jaywalker, directed again by Robert Cannon. This is the 13th nomination for Stephen Basustow and UPA. And yes, after getting 0 nominations last year, UPA turned it around and got every nomination in 1 year, a feat that no one else has accomplished, not even Walt fucking Disney. Bravo,
Fuck
UPA.
you, Walt.
Fuck you, Walt Disney. Anyway, That aside, the Jaywalker is about a mild-mannered man who forms a sudden addiction to jaywalking or walking across the street illegally. Jacob, what did you think of our final nominee?
Oh, this I thought was actually really fucking good. And full disclosure, again, like I knew that UPA was a thing. I knew that Mr. Magoo was a thing. I didn't know like how they were impactful into the world of animation. And then watching this, I was thinking to myself, okay, this is way better. It's way funnier. It feels like the music is so much better. It feels like the music is like an actual character in this. The animation style is way more experimental. Like the paint strokes to represent like the headlights and the taillights in the car. I was like, these are the same guys that produced the Magoo and McBoing-Boing shorts. Like, this is actually really fucking cool. And then I watched a video, I think it was by Royal Ocean Film Society, which talked about UPA and what they did, and watching the first part and like how their shorts were mainly made as a reaction against Disney and against Warner Brothers and against those like cartoons that felt like they had to move like, you know, fluidly and whatnot. I was like, you know what? That only made me appreciate the Jaywalker that much more, because I think they really succeeded on that front. Especially with like the way the cars move, and especially the way like, you know, certain characters will move, and the way like certain twists are revealed, and how they use such limited backgrounds to get away with so much. And that's why like when looking back at Magoo and Boing Boing, it felt like they were trying to do Chuck Jones produced shorts, but that's not what they were good at. Like, I love Chuck Jones cartoons, but like it seemed like that, like watching this made me want to check out the different shorts that they have produced more, because I just really fucked with this.
Yeah, this is just an absolutely great short, and I wish all three of these nominees were like this, but it's just like, I guess at this time it's like things were starting to wind down for UPA, and so it's just like they were getting more and more into all Magoo all the time, so it's just hard to, you know, actually focus on like, you know, doing actually good shorts. But yes, this is it's so funny. Like it's just this man, he's just it's kind of just like, I guess there's some criticism you could make about how it's making light of like addiction or something, but it's just like this man's addicted to jaywalking, and so he talks about like he talks like a seasoned criminal, like going through like how to make a score or whatever, but it's for jaywalking. And it's just like he, and the way he moves, it's like how he kind of like dances along the street, and sometimes he's like on the cars and just like moving around. It's so good, and it's like, it's so beautiful visually. Like this is where the limited animation really shines. It's like the colors are as just like, and like I love how like in the little transitional segments, like kind of like how you're saying, it's just like the cars are represented by just like moving dots and lines and stuff. It's just very, very beautiful. I was just, this is so good. This is everything that UPA is. It's just,
I love the music, the way like again, like especially with it being jazz, which is, you know, this very, you know, experimental in nature genre. It fits for a short that is, at least in my opinion, very experimental in nature. Again, this is absolutely fucking hilarious. My favorite bit was how he just like fucking jumps onto somebody's windshield, and then they try to drive away, but he still hangs on, and so they try to do like get him off with the windshield wipers, and he's hanging on to the fucking wipers.
Yeah.
That made me laugh quite a bit.
Yeah,
this was such a pleasant surprise after the other two. I really fucking enjoyed this.
Yeah, if the other two shorts are good for anything, it lowered your expectations so that this one could be such a big hit. But yeah, I'm gonna gonna make you like a list of like other UPA shorts to watch because there's a lot of them that are kind of like this, that like really focus on like the jazzy music and like work with it in such fun ways. It's just like
Mm.
I'm definitely gonna like make you a little recommendation list. And
Oh yeah, please do. Because like I want to see their Edgar Allan Poe adaptation of
yes,
of
Telltale,
the Telltale Heart. Yeah, that looks
that
really fucking cool.
that is my favorite nominee in this entire category. It's so fucking good.
What I was also thinking of too when I was watching this, and then kind of like looking at like the shorts that was presented in that video I saw, I was thinking to myself, oh, Craig McCracken probably worships at the altar of these
Yes.
guys. I was watching like, and I was thinking to myself, oh, Foster's, like that same level of like color and shape, or elements of like Townsville and the Powerpuff Girls. So
Yes.
that kept jumping back into my mind when I was watching a lot of the when I was watching, you know, that video, and when I was watching the Jaywalker.
Yeah, UPA has a massive influence on animation. It's just like they influence the styles of a lot of the other studios at this time, as they were also, you know, getting more limited, and also because they were just so popular and that people wanted more of that kind of same thing. And it's just like, so by the time we get into like the 60s and 70s, you see a lot of stuff that's trying to mimic UPA style. Well, and it's just like the limited animation style becomes like the standard for like television animation with like the Hanna-Barbera productions and all that. And like you said, it continues to this day with like Craig McCracken and Gendy Tarkovsky and things like that.
Yeah.
Uh
100% Gendy.
yeah, they are just one of the biggest forces in animation. And it's
Oh,
I love them so much.
oh,
And the
oh,
Jaywalker
sorry.
is a good reason why.
But I was about to say like should we do should we put up a spoiler tag, because I was about to talk about like how fucking funny the twist was.
Yeah, go ahead. It's been long enough. If people, it's a short film. The spoilers don't really matter that much.
No, which is he's basically narrating this as an angel come down from heaven. I'm guessing he eventually got run over, which doesn't. Yeah. So I thought that was like a very dark yet kind of funny twist ending to it all,
Mhm.
which is that like yeah, like his addiction eventually, you know,
He caught up
like
to him. He died
yeah,
doing what he loved,
he
jaywalking.
died. He died doing what he loved. Oh God. As somebody who has jaywalked thousands of times, only on empty streets, I promise.
uh,
uh, that is this is yes, I am a jaywalker. I love to jaywalk, but on empty streets. This is a
if you only do it on empty streets, you're not living the life, man. You're not a real jaywalker. uh but yeah, it's also funny because like when I drive, I absolutely hate when people just like saunter across the street for no reason, when it's like four, five, 6 lanes of traffic, and it's just like there's a crosswalk right there, use it. But it's just like watching this, it's like, you know what, maybe they have a point. Maybe they're just addicted to jaywalking. I don't know.
mm,
But yeah, great short. Anything else to say?
um nothing else I can think of.
All right. So now that we've gone through and talked about the 3 nominees this year, let's rank them all. And I'm sure it's going to be a very hard to rank one. Jacob, start us off with your number 3.
My number three. Yeah, I'll say Gerald McBoing-Boing.
Oh,
This was just I was just annoyed by the end of it all, and especially because it was just like not even using the characters Boing Boing the way you're not even using the way he talks like as like in any like creative or interesting ways, like you're not using the concept in any cool or interesting ways, and that to me was like the biggest disappointment of it all.
yeah. It's like Gerald McBoing-Boing. He does a lot of sound. It's just his name is Boing Boing. It's like he has this whole thing. And it's just he doesn't just Boing Boing. Anyway, My number 3 is Magoo's Puddle Jumper.
Hmm.
I'm not a fan of Mr. Magoo, and this is a big reason why. It's just a not funny short doing nothing interesting. Yeah, that's it. What's your number 2?
Magoo's Puddle Jumper.
Oh, who could have
Again,
guessed?
nothing interesting about it. Just kind of it sailed on by like a car in the ocean.
Uh, my number 2 is Gerald McBoing-Boing on Planet Moo, and I can't believe I didn't mention this before, but he never goes to Planet Moo. He doesn't. He's not on Planet Moo. He's just in the spaceship.
Oh my God, you're right. And I was thinking to myself, like when I saw Planet Moo, I was like, oh, are there cows? No,
No,
just a boring ass king with a
he's
stupid king hat.
he's from Planet. Look, he doesn't go to Planet Moo. It's just like it. It's like that Simpsons gag. It's like, when are they going to get to the fireworks factory? When are they going to go to Planet Moo?
God.
But number 1, it's for both of us. It's the Jaywalker, obviously. Like, come on. I can't believe that this one lost. It's like, it's not even a studio thing. It's just like you have 3 UPA shorts here. These are all by the same guy. Why Mr. Magoo? Why? How is it such a difficult choice to just award the Jaywalker? Because this is easily the best one, clearly.
Exactly. This was, yeah, that was a genuinely. I think I don't know if like, is this my favorite of the ones that I've been on? I think it may be up there. This and it's this and
Peace on Earth, the Ugly Duckling, the pointer.
Yeah, I think I said the Ugly Duckling was my favorite, but I like this more than the Ugly Duckling.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a great short. It even in a year that's like, even considering like this decade as a whole or whatever, not just this kind of terrible year, it's still like one of the best nominees of this entire decade. It's like one of UPA's best shorts as well. It's just a fantastic film. And I hope you people at home will watch it. And it's just like, I have no idea. Like, I recommend things for the listeners, and it's just like, I don't know if they ever watch it, but I hope that they're at least listening and at least put it on like watch lists or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Before we end our show, are there any final thoughts you'd like to share, Jacob, or anything you'd like to promote?
I hope you invite me on again. I always love talking about these. And you can follow me on Twitter if I don't get shadow banned or whatnot. Thank you, Elon. At pun trash or at pun_trash. That's basically it. I'm working on something, so I guess I should promote my Substack, which is I at least don't have to lie to you anymore, where I ramble about movies and music. This is going to be my first piece in close to a year, so everybody get ready. I actually have something in the works that I'm very excited about.
Well, we're excited to see it once it comes out. Well, thank you, Jacob, for coming on the show, and thank you, listener, for tuning in. This has been the Short Podcast about short films. Until next time, goodbye.